name is Stacy. This is my daughter, Kelly, and Kate. She's a true St. Jude miracle. Our journey is a long one. It starts January 8th, 2009. That's when my beautiful daughter was born. For the first 6 months of her life, she was normal, other than she seemed to spit up about more than usual. At about 6 months old, she began vomiting every morning. It just became routine. She would wake up, and for about 20 minutes, she would fuss and cry until she vomited, and then she'd be fine the rest of the day. I kept telling the doctor that she would give different diagnoses, everything from lactose intolerance, acid reflux, to allergies. She even started Kelly on an allergy medicine, which actually helped, but not completely. From then on, she would develop symptoms that we would just excuse away. She had always been a very happy baby, but as time went by, she became a very fussy baby. She stopped crawling, and she would scream hysterically whenever I would try to sit her on a hard surface. Then her right eye turned inwards. That didn't bother me because my son had had a lazy eye when he was 2. So I thought it was the same thing. But the last straw was when my mom told me that she had seen Kelly's eyes roll back into her head and she started trembling. No more excuses. I knew something was wrong. I made an appointment on Friday for the following Monday morning at 8:30. When we got there, the receptionist said that in fact the appointment was for the following Monday. I started crying hysterically and explained that I thought my baby was having seizures and needed to be seen. She spoke with the doctor, and I was told that if I was that worried about it, I should go to the ER. December 7th, 2009, so began my nightmare. At the ER, Kelly went through a series of tests, including a CAT scan. While waiting for the results, I remember hearing a page on the intercom for pastoral care needed in the ER. I thought, oh man, that sucks. Somebody must be dying. The doctor then came in with an elderly man who identified himself as the chaplain. I still didn't get it. The doctor said, I'm sorry, but I have some bad news. The CT scan shows that your daughter has a large mass in her brain. I said, you mean she has a brain tumor? He said, I'm afraid so. The page on the intercom was for us. The chaplain put his hand on my shoulder, and God forgive me, I told him, not so nicely, to get his hands off of me. After turning the circle, saying, no, no, not my baby, I looked at the doctor and said, St. Jude. I want my baby to go to St. Jude. And can you believe he didn't know what I was talking about? He said he would make some calls and get it arranged. 8 o'clock that night, we were aboard a life flight plane, Memphis bound. We went straight to Le Bonheur Children's Medical Center, which is like the sister hospital of St. Jude. On December 10th, Kelly went through grueling 8-hour surgery done by the world's best neurosurgeon, Dr. Booth. He later told us it had been a very bloody tumor. Blood vessels had thrown into it or feeding it blood. He said he had to stop because she was losing more than they could give her. He thought he'd gotten about 80% of it. Later MRIs showed that in fact he had gotten it all. Kelly spent 10 days in the ICU before being transferred to St. Jude. The doctors wanted to get her started on chemo right away while we waited for the pathology report. It would either be medulloblastoma or ATRT. We were hoping for medulloblastoma because it had much better prognosis. December 23rd, we were given the news. It was in fact ATRT, typical teratoid rhabdoid tumor. It has a terrible prognosis of 10% survival rate. I went through all the stages of grief, anger, sadness, and eventually acceptance. I told Dr. Gazar, please don't give up on my baby, and he didn't. Skipping ahead a little, her survival rate has increased due to it being a total resection from 40 to 50%. The chemo was terrible. She had to go on and off the protocol twice because she couldn't handle a couple of drugs. She was on steroids for the swelling in her brain, which in turn made her whole body swell up, eventually landing her in the ICU because she was unable to breathe. She also had posterior fossa syndrome. Dr. Booth described that as if someone had dumped broken glass into her brain and shook it around. She became agitated all the time. If she was awake, she was screaming. We also had no way of knowing how much brain damage she would have since the tumor had crushed her brainstem for so long and the fluid had been built up around her brain. It just seemed to be one complication after another. They say God doesn't give you more than you can handle, but he must have thought I was Superwoman because he just didn't stop giving it to me. I kept telling Dr. Gazar not to give up on my baby. Residents would thank me for letting them work with her because she was teaching them so much. She had a very complicated case. We were inpatient from when we got there in December until the end of April. She finally came out of the PFS, and after ending the steroids, she started losing some weight. She had multiple surgeries due to her digestive tract being screwed up. She also had to have a shunt revision because her brain had gotten so mushy from the chemo, it just pushed up against the shunt, not allowing it to do its job. We got to know all the nurses on the floor as they fell in love with Kelly. They would actually argue about who would get her and when. They would let me sleep, and if Kelly woke up in the night, they would take her out to the nurses' station to hang with the girls. When people talk about St. Jude, they tend to forget the nurses. The nurses are what kept me sane. We were finally allowed to go outpatient right before radiation was to start. The protocol calls for proton radiation in Florida. Us and the doctors all chose to do focal radiation there at St. Jude simply because she was so complicated. We completed 6 weeks of radiation and finally was able to come home early June of 2010. We go back every 3 months to have scans. In fact, we just got back from our last visit on Wednesday, and I'm proud to say Kelly is still cancer-free. KK continues to make progress every day. She is my hero. She is a very happy, almost 3-year-old. She watches Mickey Mouse literally all day, but loves to give kisses, does great therapy, and has a contagious laughter. She'll be starting school with her own aide in January. What can I say about St. Jude? If not for them, my baby would not be here right now. They did not give up on her. They just don't give up. Every day I have with her is a bonus. I savor every minute of it. She is so precious. She has her own personality and is her own person. Although I do not know what the future holds, I do know that St. Jude is there and ready to fight and not give up. Thank you.
Stacy and Kelly Chapel. They're our heroes. Thank you so much. We're honored to meet you. That's why we're here this morning. We are